Today on our utility trailer, we'll be installing the Optronics sealed mini rectangular LED trailer clearance light, part number MCL95AB. Now these Optronics trailer clearance side marker lights are sold individually. Now we will be installing 2 of them on our trailer today. Here's what our light looks like. It's got a single stud on the back, so we'll go ahead and take the nut and the lock washer off. Now depending on your particular trailer, you may need to drill an extra hole to allow for the electrical lead to fish through. We'll go ahead and feed the wire in. And we'll go ahead and make sure that the wire comes up through this portion right there so it doesn't pinch the wire. With our light in place, the stud coming through the metal bracket, go ahead and take our lock washer, put it back over the stud, and then we'll put our hex nut back in place. Now this is the hardware that comes with it, a lock washer and a nut, but you'll see how large of a hole is already in this trailer. So we're just going to add another flat washer here to take up some of the gap. So it'll be more like that. And then we'll put the lock washer followed by the hex nut. Go ahead and take our socket wrench and tighten down the nut. Then this lead here will run over and tie in with our running light circuit, which will be the brown wire on our trailer wiring. Now the ground is actually grounded through this stud right here, so that's where the ground portion is. So we only need to run a single wire over to our junction box that's already installed on this trailer. Now we're going to have to add a section of wire to run over to our junction box, or we'll tie in with the running light circuit. To do this, we'll be using a heat shrink butt connector, which is part number DW05743-5. Go ahead and strip a little bit of wire back. Let's get a good clean spot. We're just using some 14 gauge wire to extend over. Go ahead and slide that on, and then we'll crimp it. Go ahead and crimp this side as well. Now ideally, to shrink this, if you had a heat gun, we would use a heat gun to make it be a nice uniform seal. But most people don't have a heat gun at home, so we're going to just use a lighter and go back and forth and make the heat shrink portion of the connector seal around the wires. Now when we route our wire over towards our junction box on this trailer, we're going to be using some 1/4 inch wire loom, which is part number 7509-10, as well as some 1/4 inch loom clamps, part number A0250. Now to attach the loom clamps to the trailer, we'll be using some self-tapping screws, part number 101131802. Go ahead and take our 1/4 inch wire loom, and we'll slide it in over the top of our wire. Now that we have our loom installed, we'll go ahead and feed our wire over towards our junction box. Now we're going to go ahead and put a hole in here for our 1/4 inch loom clamp. Go ahead and put our loom clamp around our 1/4 inch wire loom. Then we'll put our self-tapping screw through the clamp, and we'll go ahead and tighten it down with our socket wrench. We're going to go ahead and put a couple more loom clamps and self-tappers to support and secure our wire as we run it across to the other side of the trailer. Now that we've got our wire pulled over to the other side of the trailer, we're going to go ahead and install our other light. Go ahead and feed our wire through our little hole here. Make sure that we don't pinch the wire on the back side. Go ahead and trim down our 1/4 inch wire loom. Then go ahead and take this end of the wire, feed it in. Now we're going to go ahead and make our connections up here. Again, we'll be using a heat shrink style butt connector, part number DW05744-5. Now since we need to add a wire that runs up to our junction box, we're going to go ahead and add this wire in right here. So we'll be connecting 2 wires together on one side of the butt connector. So we got our wires in place, we'll go ahead and crimp it down. Now on this side, we'll actually be using a heat gun to show you the difference between the heat gun and a lighter. Now we'll go ahead and put our wire back into the wire loom. Go ahead and take another piece of wire loom and feed it onto this wire that goes up to our junction box. And then we're going to go ahead and use some electrical tape to secure up our connections here. Go ahead and add one more loom clamp in right in this area here. Help secure the wire. Now that we've got our wire pulled down here underneath the trailer, there's already a junction box that's been mounted. The junction box that we'll be tying in with is part number 38656. We'll just need to route our wire in through one of these grommets here. Right here is the tail light circuit, so we'll be tying in right here. So we'll need to trim our wire to length. We'll then be installing a ring terminal, which is part number DW05702-1. So we'll go ahead and take our ring terminal and our crimpers, crimp it down on the wire. Then take our socket wrench, take the nut off of the stud here. Now there is a nut and a little star washer underneath that keep the nut from backing off, so we'll need to remove both of those. Go ahead and slide that on. We'll put the star washer and the nut back on, and then we'll tighten it down with our socket wrench. Now before we put our cover back in place on the junction box, we'll go ahead and take our tester and make sure that the two new side marker clearance lights are working just fine. Now if you don't have a tester, you can simply plug it into your tow vehicle and check it that way as well. Now that we know everything works just fine, we'll go ahead and put the cover back in place. And that'll do it for our installation of the Optronics sealed mini rectangular LED trailer clearance and side marker lights, part number MCL95AB.